We came here to the beautiful Hindu Samaj temple, and the first thing was that we felt very welcomed. The temple was built in November 8th, 2008. Currently, it has over 2,000 members on its email list, and then sometimes for major holidays, even more come.
Inside, you could just see that, the work done inside is really beautiful, and sadly, we couldn't take pictures inside the main temple because, according to their religion, we're not allowed to take pictures of God, but then there were a lot of statues that were just, really cool to look at, lots of different colors, and each statue had its own, story behind it. And then there was this one feature where it was just one huge building that came from India to here, so they could put it inside their temple, and it was just really, really cool to see and see how it all fit together.
Another great thing about our visit is that even though the guy said he's never had any high school students talk to him before, he was very natural and welcoming and happy to tell us everything he knew about everything. He told us the story of the lake that you might be able to see behind us and why it was a deciding factor in choosing where to place the temple. And he told us a lot about the religion that even though we studied it in school, we didn't know before.
Right. The temple being placed near a lake is actually a symbol of holiness, granting the temple just a more natural and holy feel to be connected with God. Because the water of the lake came from one of the major gods of Hinduism.
At the end, he offered us fruit, and more specifically apples. We at first refused because we didn't want to be rude, but then he said people come and go, and it's not just for the needy people. People come in and then they donate the fruit, and it's just for everyone to come in, say good morning, good afternoon, good night, and then there's one word, namaste. Namaste. That means all of those things, and we got apples.
The way it works is when people leave the food, they're offering it to God, and he used the analogy of a bee to a flower, where the bee takes the nectar out of the flower, and you don't see anything being taken from the flower, but then the bee goes and makes honey with it. So that's the analogy he used to explain how the offerings work to God. And once the offering is made and then the services are over, people are free to take.
The whole experience was very surreal. Upon entering the temple, we were forced to take off our shoes in order to not trample on what was the religion. And entering the temple brought this whole serenity over yourself. You walked onto the carpet, you see this Hindu gentleman sitting there. It was all very peaceful, and it really just made you feel at home and welcome.
Another thing is we came in and you'd sit on the floor, and normally you walk into someone's house, or you go to for example, when I go to a temple right down the street, you sit on the chairs and the benches and the pews, but here you sat on the floor, and it really was just calming and peaceful, and it wasn't uncomfortable. You felt comfortable sitting on the floor, and we just sat there, and the guy just talked to us, and it was very, very enlightening.
Another thing I noticed is that the guy wasn't just talking to talk. He maintained eye contact with me the entire time he talked. So I felt like it was directed at me and not just saying it to be said.
And also, throughout this whole experience, as we were asking questions, he was, putting in, wisdom from his years of being a Hindu, and, just enlightening us of the ways that they really just believe, how their belief works. And me being a Christian, as I was sitting there and I was listening, I really made a lot of connections with the Hindu religion, and it just kind of opened my eyes to be more diverse about it. And it's just amazing how one religion can just connect with another so much, regardless of all these disputes, all these wars going with Judaism and all that other stuff. But it's just amazing how all this comes out to one final product, and it's just really cool to put it all together and really piece it together in your mind.
While unfortunately we were not able to film inside the temple, we were able to film inside of the community centers, areas that did not have pictures of the gods there. And so we will now play those for you so that you can see what it's like inside of the temple for the regular Hindu community.
So we're in the temple right now of the Hindu Samaj, and it's very, very cool. As you can tell, this room is very large, and it is beautiful.
How do you do they have events? They have events? There's a menu. Yeah.
What do you use this kitchen for? Just for the temple or events? So like after you would do a service, people would come down to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every Sunday.
So that's like 1,000 people they have to make do for.
No.
No, not that many.
3, 4 people make. Our organizer, we make like about 1,000 people food in one home. Actually, we can make.
Very interesting. It's a very gorgeous temple.
Yeah.
Huge.
Very nice.
That's all we can like say.
Where's the dining?
Let's go see. Dining table is so big. People eat.
Is it big?
Oh.
Very, very nice.
The classroom you were talking about?
There's more actually.
Yes.
Oh, there's more.
More?
Oh wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
It's also you could do over here.
This is just a general purpose room.
Yeah. This is cool.
This is a school classroom.
Yeah, this all is cool.
This is all folded.
We sit actually on the ground
Oh.
and we do here some yoga too.
Oh.
Can I turn on the light?
Yeah, you could do. This is our dance class and I love this dance.
I'm recording in the other room. There's a picture of God.
We can't record in this room because there's a picture of God and that's off limits.
We can't go in that one either. There's a lot of pictures of God in here. I'm going to turn the camera off and go in.
Have to leave now, so thank you for this tour. Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Actually, it is down.
Alright, there are a lot of pictures up there, so we're going to have to turn this off until we get outside. Another interesting thing that the Hindu priest mentioned to us was the concept of interfaith. A lot of the Christian and Catholic churches around Mahwah actually hold events inside of the temple, and it just shows that Hinduism is they're very open with allowing religious people to practice their beliefs here. In fact, he mentioned that just a week or two ago there was a community event where people of all religions came in and they all prayed together, and it just really goes to show that Mahwah, over its period of time, even though we started off as an Indian town, we started to become this whole diverse thing with Hinduism, Catholicism, the natives. It's all just coming together as one big religious center.
And with that, namaste.
The Ramapo Reformed Church succeeded 2 German Lutheran meeting houses in an area called the Island. When Dutch Calvinists came in mid-century and organized the Ramapo congregation in Bergen County, they shared it with the Lutherans using a one-lock, two-key philosophy, until the Lutherans left to build their own church in Airmont, New York. Remaining at the center of Mahwah until the railroad was built in the mid-1800s, the Ramapo Reformed Church, also called the Island Church or Community Church because of its location, is actually the oldest of 2 federal churches remaining in Bergen County, being 200 years old.
In 1798, when the pews were much smaller and more compact, the Ramapo Reformed Church was able to hold 385 people. Today, with more largely spaced pews, you can only fit about 250 people.
Fun fact for you, one of the earliest public schools in the area, around 1815, was operating on the church grounds until about 1906, when the church sold the land to the township for the Commodore Perry School. in the cemetery is a roadbed for the old King's Highway.
The Reformed Church is very special to the town of Mahwah because it's the oldest repository building in the town. It's been here since the creation of Mahwah, and it looks like it's going to stay here a lot longer. The church is kept in great shape. Landscaping is done very well, and even today it remains a beautiful and well-renowned place of religion.
It was started by a group of Ramapo mountain people who would travel from Oakland all the way to Ringwood, and they had to hold their services to God in others' houses. After a little while, Mr. H.O. Havemeyer donated a plot of land to them so they could start an actual institution. However, due to the fact that they only had squatter rights to the property, they were forced to move, and they had to take their institution much deeper into the mountains. After having their own institution for a while, around 1904, the Green Mountain Valley Church withdrew from the Union Conference and entered the A.M.E. Zion Conference, which is where the name of the Zion Church comes from.
In 1915, Reverend W.W. Gales of Rutherford was accepted as pastor to the church. It was he who then persuaded the members to leave the mountain. A lot was purchased from the Sherwood property in West Mahwah, and now the chapel lies there on Grove Street since 1930.
In addition, the church has also had several renovations over the last 140 years. In 1956, a small annex was added in the back, funded by the Women's Club of Mahwah. This was all done under Reverend George Mann, and it has now grown to include a kitchen and sanctuary area. In 1979, another small lot was purchased in the front of the church, and that is now used as a parking lot. More recently, in 2002, a bus was donated to the church in order to aid in the picking up and dropping off of congregation members. The church wants to make sure that it increases the structure and size of the church to accommodate the now growing amount of members. Their current pastor is a man named Richard E. Collins. He wants to let everyone know that this church has been maintained and will continue to maintain with the strong support of the community.
So what we have here is a cemetery, although it may not look like one because of all the small amount of gravestones. It's actually a small family-owned cemetery, and it was found in the summer of 1990.
Bedford Road is off a deer trail in the Fardale section of Mahwah. When the area was developed, a plot of land was reserved in between two houses. Two graves are well marked with stones, that of Jacob W. Poulos and his wife Maria Acker. But there's also a fallen stone, almost unreadable, of Mary, the daughter of Young. There are two marker stones as well, with letters MP and JP, which could be Poulos markers.
In our visit to the Mahwah Museum, there was a very large mural painting detailing the history of Mahwah and how it began to build up, starting off as an Indian trail all the way to its now suburban area. It also goes into a high amount of detail talking about the Nike missile factory that was located near the cemetery on Campgaw Road.
A large portion of the exhibit in Mahwah Museum was the change across Mahwah's history. One thing that could be seen was when holding down a button, the different railroads and roads and developments of the time period in Mahwah.
They started off 1700, and you could see all the lights that popped up showing the farm areas and the trail areas. And then in the 1800s, you saw the start of suburbanization as the communities started to form, and now it shows a more modern one outlaying what Mahwah looks like today.
Another interesting thing about that road exhibit was that some things that were there in the more old showings were actually not there in the newer ones. That shows how we modernized and we cut out the need for the less advanced railroads and roads as such.
Mahwah started off as just a town made out of trails and there was nothing too important, but as we started to cut down, our borders actually shrunk because the town became more centered on the suburbanization and the community instead of it just being a small farming area. The second part of the exhibit was mainly focused on the Nike missile base in Mahwah. There were a lot of large pictures detailing what it looked like, how it was formed, where it was formed,
the things that were produced there as well. And it just showed how it seems like Mahwah might be a small town, but we were very important on a global level during a crucial war.
The Nike missile base, of course, was closed down after the war ended, but it just goes to show that even a suburban town like Mahwah can be extremely important in any sort of situation, whether it be starting off as a farming area or the meeting place of Indians, all the way over to a Nike missile factory.
So another exhibit in the museum was the Les Paul exhibit, and that one's actually quite new. And at the exhibit, you go in and you see all these guitars that were made by Les Paul, and if you may or may not know Les Paul, he was a guitarist and also made his own brand line of guitars, which I must say are very nice. So when you go, you'll see a backdrop and then some of his guitars, and it looks very, very good, and you know, looks pretty and really glorifies their awesomeness, and it's just an awesome thing to look at. I mean, it's really cool. And another feature that they have is for $25 you can play one of the 3 signature instruments for 45 minutes, which I thought was really cool. And you know, they also play vintage videos of him and his wife playing the Les Paul and Mary Ford show in Mahwah, and it was just a cool video to watch, and it's awesome to see.
Defendant. Okay. You also have the right to be known as a probable cause hearing, a hearing that will take place before Superior Court Judge and Ackerman House to hire an attorney and discuss feasibility of that hearing with your attorney. You also have the right to apply for the probation program under Section 36A of our drug law. Basically, the first defendant, I don't know if you qualify, but you have the right to try to get the probation program. Again, just that. Now, you were summoned to be here on April 24th, you're obviously here tonight. That means you're going to be released on your own recognizance. That means you don't have to post any monies to be released. As a condition of your release, you're hereby instructed to report within the next 48 hours to the Superior Court of New Jersey, Criminal Division 124, Bergen County Justice Center, 10 Main Street, Hackensack. And you have until Thursday of this week to do so. This is for further processing on this complaint. Should you fail to appear by Thursday this week, you will most likely be arrested. You understand that? Do you have any questions on anything? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you across the hallway to my right. You're going to get a copy of this form I just read to you. It has on it the name, address, hours of operation, and phone number of the people you're supposed to see. So why don't you go across the street and get a copy of this shit, then you go.
Ms. Beatrice, in class you told us that the court was mostly focused on people with traffic violations, but tonight was actually very interesting.
Okay, so basically there were a lot of terrible drivers who were driving recklessly and irresponsibly down Ridge Road, and they got nailed for it. There were a couple people doing marijuana, which of course the other students in my group talked about, and that's basically it.
So when we first arrived at the court, the first thing we had to do was go through a security checkpoint, which involved a metal detector and us putting our phones in baskets. And it was really different because we aren't used to doing that in places going to a public place. Another thing is that the courtroom itself is very large and very echoey. And it was really weird because the judge would talk and everyone would talk, but it was very quiet, and the microphones that they had on the desk didn't really do anything, and it was very hard to hear at some points, so you were kind of like straining. But all in all, it was a very interesting experience, and probably never going to do it again because it was really boring.
Okay, so basically when we started and we went to court, we all kind of sat around waiting for the judge to, call people up, and all the attendants went down. Basically, it was a very long, boring process to sit through, and then the cases themselves weren't any better. I mean, there were some interesting ones, like people breaking glass and marijuana, as other people said, and this one guy got like fined for speeding and can't drive in New Jersey for 90 days. But other than that, it was pretty boring. The judge sounded like very monotone bingo game-like,
This house is the home of Garrett G. Ackerman until his death when he was thrown from his carriage and presumably trampled by his horses. His son, John, lived in this house after his death until about 1913, and his other son, named after him, Garrett G., owned a farm and grist mill in that direction, southwest from here.
So here we are at the Ackerman House, and the Ackerman House is very old, and as you can tell, it looks kind of worn down, and it just shows the age of it. Also, another interesting fact is over here, there's this well. This proves the age of it being very old because we have plumbing nowadays, and back then you didn't. And as you can tell by the chains, very rusty chains, and just the top of this that is just very old. And also another thing down here is it's not very deep, and as you can tell by the cobwebs, it hasn't been used for quite some time, proving that it is very, very old. So here we are at the Havemeyer House, located across from Ramapo College on Route 202.
The Havemeyer House here was actually originally the Ackerman home until it was purchased by Mr. Havemeyer in 1878. He used this home for his family, and even though he was having several problems with divorce, he still managed to keep the home sanctioned. And after he passed away, his family continued the legacy of the Havemeyer home, being able to keep it restored and allowing it to become a monument of Mahwah.
Something interesting about the architecture of the building, other than the giant old-style door, is the doorknob. The doorknobs are most likely made of copper. We can tell this because of the greenish tinge due to oxidation from the prolonged exposure to oxygen, as they're both very old doorknobs.
Interestingly enough, our first president, George Washington, stayed here during his time as general in the Revolutionary War. It was here also that they held a war council in order to figure out the battle plan to attack the British-held New York at the time.
Another interesting thing is the windows. They are very large, and most houses nowadays don't come with windows that extend from the floor all the way up to the top of the first floor.
While much of the truth is actually shrouded in mystery, from this door that was made all the way back in the 1700s, we can assume that humans were at least 12 feet tall. It's unbelievable to just see that something so historic can be preserved and tell us about what humans were like in the 1700s and 1800s. Continuing on about what was shrouded in the mystery of the past, we can see that Mr. Havemeyer installed a very large air conditioning system in order to power through his enormous mansion with his 12-foot tall stature. It is unknown, however, why these doors are so short, being only about 6 feet tall. Perhaps this is where his children might have come to work or exit the house? No one knows. But we can tell you one thing, history is in Mahwah. And one last thing helping with our assumption that humans were much larger 200 years ago. We have the baby crawl space. Whenever Mr. Havemeyer wanted his babies to leave, he would ask them to use this door. Now you could tell babies were larger because this door is about a foot tall, and most babies right now, their heads are only about 5 inches large. So what we can assume is using that door over there being 6 feet, this door being 1 foot, and the main entrance door being 12 feet tall, humans were really, really big. during our search to find the truth of human size, we came across this picture. This clearly shows two young ladies standing next to this large bush and being at least a head taller than it. But if we move over here, we can see that the bushes extend well over Jake's 5'8" head. This is more and more proof saying that humans were much larger back then, and something caused us to shrink over the last 200 years. No one can know for sure what it is. Eventually, humans are going to become this small, and the cities are going to be the pavement. The pavement. You can see, there's these little ridges. Those are buildings, man. That's my house. That's where I'm going to live.
In 1872, a man by the name of Alfred Darling established Valley Farm and had many, many workers working on it. Because of this, the area around that farm became known as the hamlet of Darlington. Havemeyer, whose house we just talked about, approached Darling and funded a schoolhouse with him. For this schoolhouse, which is right behind me, he had the architect who built his home in Rhode Island work on it. Now, if that home in Rhode Island was anything like his house in Mahwah, you can tell that architect did a very good job. The Darlington Schoolhouse was known as one of the best schools in New Jersey, where on the bottom floor was grades 1 through 8, and there would be 1 or 2 teachers teaching everybody in that room. Along with the classroom on the bottom floor for these grades, the upper floor was for a community center. So not only did the school benefit the children by teaching them, it benefited everybody around it by providing a place to do the activities.
After about 50 years of intermittent use and complete abandonment, the Darlington Schoolhouse will now be renovated to be used as the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference headquarters. It's sat here for a very long time doing nothing and slowly falling apart, but recently it's been purchased and it's going to be restored and it's going to become a very, very important landmark for Mahwah and for the Trail Conference.
Now to the architecture. If we look at these doorknobs, as well as the Havemeyer House, you can tell the intricate designs that are put on these things. Handcraft, obviously from people 200 years ago. Another thing is if you look at this door, once again, it is a very, very large door, thus further proving our theory that humans from 200 years ago were much taller than they are now. Another interesting thing. This average step size for a human way back in the 1800s was much larger than one now. Like, look at this step size. Only a person of 12 feet of height could possibly get up this step.
Kyle's an alien. He made it up!
Alright, so after a little bit of rationalizing, we've decided Kyle is not an alien. He was just jumping. He wasn't actually making a step.
Okay, if you follow us this way, something interesting. Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
Look at this. Some sort of ancient human hieroglyphics. What is this? Are these the heads of the carcasses they just destroy? Whoa. Oh wow, look at this.
It's like,
what are these hieroglyphics?
What does it mean? It's another language or something.
Look at these flowers? I don't even. This is weird stuff, man. Definitely done by the 12-foot humans. Okay, if you follow me this way.
Yeah, I gotta go check something.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay. So, obviously this thing is very old, as you can tell by the... Yeah?
We gotta go.
Why? Wow. This could be where they kept humans. They laid across this way. Oh my god, what is that?
Oh no. No.
What is that?
Come on. Let's go.
Ah! Dude, that was some freaky stuff, man. Let's go. Let's go!
Take the camera, I'm driving.
Miss B, what kind of project are you making us do here? This is...
Oh, that smells so bad. We're gonna...
That's... That's just... What... Miss B.
Thomas Winter built this house on family-owned land and lived in it for all of his life. Throughout his time living in this house, he had 2 wives and had a whopping 10 children, despite the fact that the square footing in this house is only slightly over 900 feet. This just shows how people were very non-wasteful back then, because if you come over here, look in the windows. you can see that there's definitely not enough room for 10 children, let alone a 2-child family by today's standards. The Winter family stayed very prominent in Mahwah until the 1940s as merchants, craftsmen, and various other professions.
After our close encounter with what we believe was one of the 12-foot-tall humans left behind by the aliens, we come across this house. This does not seem like a special house. The door seems to be a reasonable height, but then you look at it compared to myself. I'm 6 feet tall, and this door is still a head over me. We can assume from this that there was segregation between the very tall and the minute-statured humans. This house most likely belonged to someone who was about 8 feet tall, as evidenced if you come over here and you look inside. You can see the ceilings are still very tall, more tall than any person who is 5 foot, 6 foot would ever need.
Whoa, hold on guys, look.
What?
Look at this.
Whoa.
Holy.
Who's gonna go down there?
You guys want to go down?
Yeah, let's go. This is some real interesting stuff.
Dude, there's definitely rats down here. I'm gonna get gangrene or something.
I'm right behind you, Jake.
Really cool, dude.
It smells so bad down there. Don't let
Not
your head
really.
up, Jake.
Hold up. Let me get a flashlight going.
Don't lift your head up.
Watch out the fiberglass in the ceiling. You probably don't want that in your hair.
Okay. Alright. Okay. There's a spider to your left. Okay.
Dude. Look, there's probably some really old files in here.
Oh, you can't see anything. There we go.
Is that the other way out?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Alright, cool. You okay?
No, I'm dying. There's desks here.
Yeah, your footing should be good.
Old, trusty incubator. Like for eggs. I kind of want to look inside that box. You were right, there might be like old stuff in there.
Or there could just be
That
rats.
looks like old cookware, kind of.
Over there?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's actually the... Oh!
See it?
No, look up.
What?
Where does that lead from? Is it this?
It's definitely a jigsaw trap.
Bath light. Oh, this is like... Oh, that's pretty spooky.
What is it?
Spider's nest.
Definitely need to get scabies.
Too much in there, man. I don't know. It's... Oh, it's just stones.
Rubble. Valley Forge.
It could be the paper the tablets that the old humans used to write on. Stone tablets. There's stuff in there. I don't know.
It's rubble. It says rubble. These boxes are...
Okay. We can go now.
Let's go. Let's check out the other one.
I guarantee nobody even sees it.
There it is. Light. It's on.
Dude. Nice.
Okay. Flashlight off.
Check this out, Mrs. Beatrice.
Okay, Miss
Bet
Beatrice.
you've never had any students take you in the cellar of one of these houses
We just
before.
got spooked to hell just to come into the cellar, dodging spiders and rats.
Winter
This is the winter farmhouse.
farmhouse.
I want to go check some of that other stuff over here.
This is us taking initiative just for you, Mrs. Beatrice.
If we don't get an A+ on this, I'm suing the school for putting me in this position.
You guys are still down here?
Yeah, we turned the lights on. Okay, I'm going under.
Going underwear. You gonna come out that side? Yeah, keep filming and come out that side.
There's big cobwebs. I wish I had a stick.
There's also a big spider. Oh, there is a stick right here.
Where's the big spider?
No, that's not a big spider.
Oh.
Do you want the steak?
Yeah, just make sure there's no spider on it.
Right here.
Hand it to me.
I'm gonna go out the front way.
Yep.
But keep filming and go out that way. You guys care if I turn off the light?
Okay, go ahead. Alright, it's Beatrice. Okay. Alright, Miss Beatrice. It's just you and me in the dark cellar. Okay, that scared the crap out of me. Okay. Alright. I'm just waiting. I don't really see a way for me getting out of here while holding the camera. Thanks, mates. So, Miss Beatrice, I think we're the first people to ever go cave exploring for you.
So today was a very productive day of filming, as we went to all the old homes in Mahwah.
We started off by going to the Ackerman House. We then made our way onto Route 202 and went down it, starting at Havemeyer, then going to the Darlington Schoolhouse, and finishing at the Winter Farmhouse.
Despite the fact that the architecture of the time period was very similar in all the houses, there were plenty of differences too. For example, the Havemeyer House was a giant mansion, and then the Winter House was much smaller, even by today's standards.
All in all, it was a great experience, especially at the Winter Farmhouse, where we went under the house and saw all the old appliances and just all this old stuff down there, and it was really cool.
Unfortunately, that was where we met our dead end for our data on the 12-foot tall humans. There was no documents of any sort to lead us to a new location, but it's not cold yet. We'll find something.
So we have Miss Beatrice here today. It is the 6th of May, and we have some questions to ask you. Is that all right?
That's fine.
All right, first question to start off easy is, how long have you been living in Mahwah?
I've been living in Mahwah going on 26 years.
Okay, so during those 26 years, what are the biggest changes you've seen in the neighborhood?
Well, I think just the population of Mahwah in general. When I first came here, it was about 12,000 people, and now it's up to close to 26,000 people. And it went from feeling like that small town feel to feeling like a small city. I used to be able to travel around town and run into people that I know, and now I don't feel like I know anybody when I go out.
During those 26 years of life in Mahwah, what is the most favorite occurrence that has happened to you?
Favorite occurrence?
Yeah, like most favorite event, basically.
Favorite thing that's happened?
Well, I guess the two recognitions I've gotten from teaching, but that was from school. If you were asking me my favorite memories, I guess, about Mahwah, the township, I guess it would be just the activities that I had with my kids. My husband and I coached soccer and baseball for my daughter and son, so we had a lot of activities all the time, and Mahwah Day. I just have nice, like I say, small hometown feeling about here. It was just generally good feelings. The big parade, the baseball parade that took 7 minutes to walk down the hill, you know, it's things like that that make Mahwah special.
So, as you said, Mahwah probably has changed, but what do you miss the most about Mahwah that's not here anymore?
Well, there's been the various changes to the area in terms of the highways that have been brought through. 280. I remember when 287 was not there. They cut. When I came, there was no MacArthur Boulevard. They had cut that through. I guess the accommodations for the population, you know, in terms of the woods that are no longer here because of cutting them down to make these highway connections. I kind of miss. It made it less rural.
How's the community overall, other than like highways and streets, like changed? Would you say?
In the traffic inside the township as a whole, or
The people, like the community, the
oh, okay.
area.
Well, you know, actually, when I first came, they used to call it a bedroom community because people would commute to the city for work and just basically come here for, to go to sleep. So that's why they call it a bedroom community, because people didn't really invest in Mahwah. They weren't here. They were at their jobs in other places. And I think that's another change that I saw, that people that either started to get jobs that were more local, or their spouses were able to stay around and become part of the community. So I did see more community involvement by parents instead of just being a working kind of place.
Since you stayed here for 26 years, big question is, why did you stay here for so long, and what about Mahwah really made you stay and made you live here for so long?
My family, we are all nature lovers, and that's one of the reasons why I came up here, because we are so, I feel, blessed, privileged to have such beautiful parks right here. Yet in 25 minutes on a good day, I can be in New York City if I want, So it's my perfect place, because I can have nature and beautiful lakes, in the morning, and then I can be in the city for a Broadway play at night, So for me, it's perfect.
Well, we also understand that your husband is a lawyer, and speaking of lawyer, and that has to do with politics, what do you think has changed about the politics in Mahwah over the 20-year time period that's gone by compared to today?
When we first came up here, Mahwah was very political. And then we went to a nonpartisan town council, meaning that nobody ran on a party line. There were no Republicans or Democrats. We went to nonpartisan. And the town, I think, fared very well. Now it seems to be political battles going on, and people are kind of choosing up sides, and I think that's divisive to the town.
Well, for the town, every town has a school system that it has. So in the past, what was the school system like, and how much has it changed?
Mahwah, when I first started teaching, I actually refused a job in Mahwah because the schools were that poor. They were unaccredited. It was campus style, which was great for the kids because, there were 12, 13 little buildings, but nice weather, you'd lose a significant amount of population. It was very loose. And the school system did not have a good reputation. So when I came up here looking to start my family up here, I was very cautious about the school system. But by that point, a lot of professional people had moved in who were very interested in education, and we kind of worked together to make the school system better. We had smaller classes, we got some additional schools built, and I think we have a first-class operation going now.
So you said before that the school system was poor. So when you first started, how have your students changed over the times as Mahwah got more rich and more profitable? And would you say that today's students have changed completely, or still quite similar to back then?
I think when I first started teaching, first of all, we had more diversity in the school. There were more people of color, there were more ethnic groups. I think the cost of living in Mahwah has kind of chased some people out.
So you said before that the education of Mahwah was poor, and as Mahwah got more profitable and got more money, the students probably have changed. So compared to today and back then, have the students changed completely, or are they still quite similar?
Yeah. Well, as I say, the parents have been more educated, and so they want better things for their sons and daughters. And I think in the last 5-6 years, students have been much more focused toward college, preparing for college, and doing what they need to do to be well-rounded. Sometimes I get a little frustrated because I think some students are just focused on doing what they need to do to be in the right place versus having a love of learning, and I'd like to see the love of learning be increased a little more.
The school system has changed, and following the topic of change, what are some things in Mahwah that is gone but you don't miss?
We did have some problem kids, not that we don't have problem kids today, but I think it's of a different nature. We had some serious problems here that we haven't had in a while. Like I say, other problems do exist. We seem to have a real drug problem going on here compared to what it used to be. But I think, as I say, there were some kids here that were just a little on the dangerous side, so that haven't seen things like that in a long time.
Okay, to brighten up the mood, what was your favorite part of Mahwah, and what is it today?
I guess it's still just being able to walk through the woods and go on trails and hikes and just enjoy the beautiful mountains. My daughter's friend came to visit us last summer, and she is from the Midwest, so we wanted to bring her up to the reservation to show her the trails up there, and she kind of laughed at us because she said these aren't mountains, these are rolling hills, because the Rockies and stuff, you know, but to me these are our Rockies and I enjoy it.
Alright, I think that's every question that we have down.
Well, I'm sure you gentlemen will do a fine job and produce a wonderful project. I'm looking forward to it.
Wait, we have one more question.
Ms. Beatrice, in your time of staying here, has anyone really been far, even as decided, go used to want to do to look more like?
What?
Are you kidding me? I mean, farther than the decided, but...
Okay.
Wait.
What are you saying, Max?
Has anyone really been far, even as decided to use go want to do to look more like?
Absolutely. And I want lunch.
This is the end of our Mahwah Project video, and we just have to say one thing. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Okay.
This man, along with my mother, have been the chauffeurs of this entire chauffeur of the entire Mahwah project. Le chauffeur.
So I interviewed a guy tonight. His name was Jay Singh. S-I-N-G-H.
Jay Singh?
Jay Singh. He was in Leonia. And I mentioned that I lived in Mahwah, and he said, "Oh, I go up there all the time to the Hindu temple."
Oh, the Hindu Samaj temple.
The Hindu Samaj, you know it? Yes.
Oh, wow.
He said my son was there 2 weeks ago. Is he Hindu? No, he's not.
Oh, wow.
That's very interesting. Would you mind if I put that in the project?
And I said, they came out with armfuls of fruit.